Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry. Today's video is going to be my look at the new facility event preview we got for the Accursed Archives, as well as what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 3. So Director Matsura released that last night with little prior announcement, and so we have a ton of new updates and information, a sense of the direction of Dragalia Lost, what's coming next, and today is just going to be a casual look at all of that, where I give you my opinions and impressions. So let's start things off with the Accursed Archives. Finally, we are getting a Shadow Facility event. I know so many of you in the comments have been hyped for Shadow Adventurers. You've mentioned that you're going to save until there's another Shadow Showcase, maybe because you didn't get Ieyasu or Sazanka, but even if you did, perhaps you just want more. Well, it looks like the wait is finally over because this is going to start on the 12th, basically right after the current raid event ends. So there's some lore here about a mysterious library, accursed walls. The group encounters a nightmarish chaos. It sounds pretty cool. It sounds like a darker theme for an event, which fits the shadow element. So this is coming soon. Resist the darkness and discover the truth. You can see there's a dragon here, and then you have these two adventurers. These are probably going to be husbandos for a good amount of people. I think that both of them give something to like. It looks like the one with the white and black hair is holding a wand or a staff. And to me, it looks like the blonde character is probably a melee character, but I can't really make out their weapon in this picture. Then we see, use the Library Obscura to power up Shadow-tuned adventurers. That's going to be the name of the new facility we get. Kind of cool that it's not necessarily tied to a specific holiday this time around. And we're going to be gathering arcane tomes. So this is super exciting. That probably means Gala will come later in the month. Since after Thunder and Splendor, we're going to get a showcase with some of these characters on it. It's not known yet whether this is going to be a limited showcase or a normal showcase, a normal recurring showcase. So let me go ahead and head over to the notices board. I'll open this up and I'll show you we get a little bit of detail here, but not necessarily anything about the summon showcase. We'll probably get that on Sunday, basically the day before this comes out. But overall, looks pretty cool. I'm excited to see what happens here. I like it when the events include the characters that are on the banner. So this time around, the event, it didn't really include Odetta, it didn't really include Albert, and it definitely didn't include Jacob, so hopefully we're moving back toward events which focus on those characters a little bit more so we get some insight into them, even if we're not able to summon them. I'm pretty excited, and it lasts until March 20th. And that segues into what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 3 quite nicely, since this portends of the future direction of Dragalia Lost. This forecasts or gives us a sense of what's coming ahead even beyond March 20th. So again, we're greeted by Director Matsura. He gives us a reminder that Void Battles are out now, but also that we're going to be getting some new Void Battles coming on March 20th on that day. So here's a look at two of them. It says we're going to get 3 total, which is nice. The first one is a Shadow-attuned Obsidian Golem. It says we may have encountered the Flame-attuned Steel Golem already. Yes, we have. So now you can meet the Shadow-attuned version of that enemy. I'm hoping that this is not just a reskin with the same moves. I guess I'd be okay with that if their plan is that every type of Void Boss comes in every variety of element. Like if they make 5 versions of the Shroom and 5 versions of the Golem. But as long as they keep introducing new types of bosses, I wouldn't mind that so much. But if this is really just a reskin, that is a little bit disappointing. But there are 2 other Void Bosses, and this next one does look unique. So this is the Flame-attuned Blazing Ghost, which has a new ability, Ranged Resistance. It makes it difficult for adventurers with bows, staves, and wands to deal damage. So he'd recommend using adventurers with other weapon types. And to me, this basically says, hey, we saw that you were using Lily to take out Steel Golem, and you were just obliterating Steel Golem with Lily. There are so many Lilies in pubs. maybe we need to come up with a different plan. Because it's not like water bows, Dragalia Nefaria, or Wake are especially popular or common, and staves as well. Thaniel is not especially common in Steel Golem, so to me, this is directly a response to Lily, not even Dragalia Xander, any of the other characters that could apply to. But that's not a bad thing, it'll force us to use some different strategies, I suppose. Perhaps there will be a new series of wood weapons that counteract ranged resistance in some way. And then it says some of the weapons you can craft from void battles will be useful for advanced dragon trials, we know that. So if you enjoy playing void battles, you can strive to challenge the advanced dragon trials next. Additional quests to take on and weapons to craft will be added every month. So although the weapon types may be limited at the moment, and that seems like a direct answer to people who, like myself, were concerned with how limited void weapons were, you can look forward to seeing them increase in the future. So hopefully with these monthly void battle updates, I think that's a good amount, especially if we're getting 3 each time. We'll get a nice smattering of weapons. Not all of them will probably be meta or super good, but even if there's 1 or 2 in there that open up some new options, I would be pretty okay with that. Now we get another little look at the next facility event, and it directs us to the other notice. It says that they've added just a dash of horror, so I'm curious about what this is going to be like. Maybe we'll get our Halloween theme music back. I recently used that in a video, and I know some of you caught reference of that. Otherwise, it also mentions that now that Dragalia Lost is out in 6 additional countries, they are planning something for the half-year anniversary. So we're first going to get a login bonus starting on that day, March 20th. That's going to be a pretty important day to count down to the half anniversary. So basically I'm thinking as soon as this new facility event ends, we're going to get a blowout with this login bonus. We're probably going to get Gala around then, and perhaps some other types of events, and I expect them to be pretty generous if they're really going in on this half anniversary. Now that is just the start, however, because now we get into some of the more juicy updates. So there are 5 updates to share with us, starting with number 1, equipping 2 Wyrmprints. We had been waiting for details on this since it was previewed in the last What's Ahead for Dragalia Lost. So now we get some actual insight into how it's going to work. We're working on implementing it as such. You can equip 2 Wyrmprints per adventurer. However, one adventurer cannot equip 2 of the same Wyrmprint. That's totally fine. I think that makes a lot of sense, encourages variety, that's great. If you equip 2 Wyrmprints which have the same effect, the effects will stack up to a certain limit. So that I am curious about. I think it makes sense to make sure that people aren't doing completely broken or degenerate things, but I hope it's implemented in a really clear way, and it's not just ad hoc where you have to test each Wyrmprint combo and see how much percentage limit you have. That is my one concern with that, is that it could just get kind of messy, but if it's really communicated clearly, then I would have no problem with this. So it says this will unlock after completing Chapter 4, which is nice. That definitely throws a bone to newer players because Chapter 5, 6, and 7 are where the game does tend to get a bit harder. So it's still in development, so these points are subject to change, and they'll continue to update us in the future. I'm not sure, just reading this, when to actually expect this. It could be as soon as that March 20th update, but the read I get from this is that it's going to be a little ways out still. And we'll get into a larger update at the end of this message, and I think that's where it'll probably take place. So number 2, creating conditional rooms when playing co-op. When playing co-op, you'll be able to create rooms with certain conditions for entry. You can set element, weapon type, and might as conditions, and you'll match with players who meet those conditions when they select Find Room. This should prove useful for challenging those high difficulty quests. Also, you'll be able to choose to battle again if you fail a quest. By far, that battle again if you fail a quest is the most exciting thing to me, because it does often take 2 or 3 tries before a successful clear on harder quests. Or, for instance, if you're going for an epithet like Manticore Mauler or Zephyr Zapper, that's the kind of thing that you might want to retry frequently with a group. So I really like that that's an option now, and hopefully it allows you to stick together, at least if you formed a private room. As for these other settings, I do think these will probably help with public lobbies and matchmaking in general, because people are often scouting down that one missing team member that they really need in their composition. So maybe it's a healer like Thaniel, maybe it's Verica, but whoever it is, perhaps you just don't want to enable memers or people who are really just trying to troll you in public lobbies. Whatever it is, hopefully these room settings help a little bit. It would be nice if there was an affliction resistance one, and I hope that this doesn't become too elitist, where all sorts of people are creating rooms using these conditions and it locks others out. That would be my only concern, but I think if this is implemented well, it will be a big boon to the game. It's just another option. There's still the option to create rooms normally without setting these conditions. So now the third thing is trading for insufficient materials on the spot. And this one is really small, but when you're building mana circles, facilities, or crafting, and you don't have the materials you need, it is pretty cumbersome to go to the treasure trade, get the materials you need in just the right amount, and come back to finish whatever project you were working on. So basically now, you'll be able to remain on those screens and trade without going to the treasure trade in the shop. It's a little touch, but I think it's a nice quality of life improvement. Now number 4, new button to change game speed. We'll be adding a button which will let you change the speed of the game when playing a quest. This feature will only be available during solo play, but it will increase the overall game speed when enabled. So there will be 4 speeds: normal, 1.2 times, 1.5 times, and 2 times. You can set it to 2 times when playing with auto-enabled to play twice as fast, or you can take control yourself and enjoy battling at twice the speed. What a quirky little invention, I feel, or innovation to add to the game, because I don't see this as being something people were really asking for. But perhaps with Cygames seeing how many people auto-battle certain dailies, they thought this is a pretty nice quality of life improvement, and maybe this is done in some other mobile games that rely on autoplay that I'm not as aware of. But still, I'm kind of surprised to see this, and it works for me. It's a nice little quality of life change. I do auto-battle a lot of dailies. So the director says, personally, they think the fastest they could enjoy controlling is 1.5 times speed, but in any case, it's a different way to play the game, so we hope you check it out. I will definitely check it out, and I think it'll be just fun to watch the characters moving around super quickly, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. Now, number 5, this is the final big piece here. High Midgard Stormer's Trial Prelude added. We are adding a new Prelude difficulty to High Midgard Stormer's Trial. With this difficulty, it will be easier for you to practice the High Midgard Stormer fight. Also, you'll be able to fight without the glorious Tempest Wormprint, so why not give it a try? However, do note that you won't get the epithet for clearing this difficulty. So that raises a big question of whether you'll actually get those High Midgard Stormer orbs and be able to trade in the treasure trade for the Fafnir statue and for High Midgard Stormer as a dragon. Along with this change, we also plan to make slight adjustments to the rewards for advanced dragon trials. So if these are becoming more generous, I am so down, and I really hope they do a thing that they've done in the past where they back compensate players. They've done this for Ashes, for Honey in the past. So if they're able to give us the rewards that we missed out on, and this is actually going to be more generous, I am all aboard this change, and maybe it'll be something we don't expect, like maybe it'll make it so succulent dragon fruit is a lot more common as a drop from these quests. I know that's something that would please a lot of players in of itself, but we'll have to wait and see. This will be released in the near future, while the other items described here are scheduled for the end of March. So this could come as soon as the new facility event from what I read. Now finally, for future updates, it says that the director introduced updates for March this time, but they've also got a big update planned for the end of April, our biggest yet. So they are really confident in this, in raising expectations for this, and I have no idea what it could be. It sounds like something completely different than what's been in the game so far. I would love a new type of mode where the core gameplay is different, something that lets us use a lot of adventurers. I would also enjoy that. But thinking about things, it has been 3 months since we got our last story chapter. It's also been about that long since we got our last High Dragon. So I have to feel those are part of a March or April update and that those will happen at some point in the future. Maybe that is what they have in mind with their biggest update yet. And if that's the case, I would be perfectly happy with that as well. But that is all for what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 3. So definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. I really enjoyed taking a look at this, reading through it. It's a lot of smaller and quirkier adjustments this time around, with the worm print change I think being the biggest one, and the rest kind of being convenience changes, things that will make our quality of life a little better. I'm also really looking forward to the Accursed Archives. I'm assuming that these enemies will probably inflict blind, because there is a need to add some more blind res characters to the permanent summoning pool. So that is what I'm hoping with this, and if that's the case, Pietro does have blindness res, so expect to see some more of Pietro in the near future if that does work out. But also let me know what you're thinking about this. I very much look forward to what you have to say. I do have another video planned that I'll release this weekend, so I hope you're looking forward to that as well. I wanted to get this out first since the information is hot and fresh right now. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.